Hello, I'm Sarah Coates. Thanks for joining me here on the News Desk. We begin with a developing story, and a meeting is being held in Abu Dhabi between officials from the UAE, the US and Sudan right now, with sources telling Israeli media that Sudan looks to be the next nation to potentially normalise ties with Israel. It's understood Sudan needs economic help from the US, with the country facing a shocking flood crisis, and if the US does come to the table, a normalisation agreement with Israel could be expected in the coming days. Meanwhile, Bahrain's Interior Ministry says the kingdom has thwarted a terrorist plot by an organisation affiliated with the Revolutionary Guards in Iran. It's understood the organisation was looking to blow up public and security facilities and assassinate senior officials. The ministry adding that an explosive device was found which was supposed to detonate when a foreign delegation visited Bahrain. And this, of course, is still a developing story, and we will, of course, bring you more information as it comes to hand. Moving on, and Iran is blasting the United States after it announced it'll reimpose sanctions on Tehran over its nuclear activity, with an unnamed US source telling Reuters that the US believes that Iran will have the materials to produce a nuclear bomb by the end of 2020, adding that on Monday the US will sanction at least 24 people involved in the nuclear program. Now, this as Washington failed in its attempt to extend an arms embargo set to expire next month under the 2015 nuclear accord, which the US walked out on back in 2018. In response, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani says the US's maximum pressure campaign has turned into America's maximum isolation, while Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says this.
It was the U.S. choice to stand on the wrong side of history, and it has forgotten what its responsibilities are. Tehran's message for Washington is clear. Return to the international community, to your commitments, stop rebelling, and the world will accept you.
Protests are about to get underway once again in Jerusalem as Israeli citizens call on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to step down. The demonstrations have been ongoing now for months over Netanyahu's 3 criminal trials and the way he's handled the economic fallout from the virus. People have been seen marking areas on the pavement to ensure they maintain their social distance, with unconfirmed reports coming in that police have already arrested a number of people. Israelis are now into their 3rd day of the second coronavirus lockdown, with Israel becoming the first developed country to impose harsh virus measures twice. Authorities say that police officers have handed out thousands of fines for people not abiding by the new rules, along with a hefty fine to a cafe owner who remained open but added most people are doing the right thing. Now, Israel has one of the worst COVID-19 infection rates in the world per capita, with at least 5,000 cases or more being detected daily all of this week, although there was a drop on Saturday to just under 4,000, largely believed to be from less testing over the holiday. Prime Minister Netanyahu is warning that current restrictions could be tightened if the lockdown doesn't work and the infection rate keeps climbing. Now, across Europe, it seems as though a second wave of the virus is upon many countries, with France seeing a spike, setting a record of more than 13,000 confirmed cases since the beginning of the pandemic, while the UK has now registered the highest daily COVID-19 tally since May, with nearly 4,500 testing positive on Saturday, amid fears another lockdown could be imposed. In Spain, demonstrations happening in the capital of Madrid on Sunday, with residents angry over restrictions, saying they don't have proper access to healthcare, among other things.
I can't continue doing certain activities because of the limitations, with the problems and pain that we suffer in these neighborhoods because of the lack of health workers, education, decent housing, and years of the government.
Mourning continues in the United States following the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as people around the world are paying tribute to the 87-year-old champion of women's and civil rights who died in Washington after a battle with pancreatic cancer. Now, the passing of Ginsburg could go a long way to change the course of the presidential election, which happens in just 44 days, with Trump, even before her death, releasing a list of possible successors. But his Democratic opponent, Joe Biden, says it should be the winner of the election who makes the decision. Speaking at a rally in North Carolina, Trump supporters told the president what they want to happen.
Who would rather have a man on the Supreme Court? Well, the man, it's... Who would rather have a woman on the Supreme?
Trump then hinting at what's to come.
I agree with the statement put out by Mitch McConnell. I agree with it actually 100%. I put out a very similar statement you saw. So I think we're going to start the process extremely soon, and we'll have a nominee very soon.
American TikTok fans are holding out hope that the popular video sharing platform may now live on in the US after Trump threatened to ban it. Now, the president's been extremely vocal about the platform, which is owned by a Chinese company, accusing the app of being a tool used by China to steal data. Restrictions were set to come into effect from Sunday, which would not allow the app to be downloaded or updated, with the Commerce Department saying that will be delayed by a week, with Trump announcing that he's now approved a deal with Walmart and Oracle.
It will have nothing to do with China. It'll be totally secure. That'll be part of the deal, and that will be both Oracle, as you know, and Walmart.
More confronting images are coming out of Belarus, with military trucks carrying barbed wire rolling into the central part of the capital, Minsk, with masked police then jumping out and dragging more than 400 demonstrators into trucks and vans before taking them into custody. Now, scenes like this have been ongoing since August 9, after opposition protesters began taking to the streets when Alexander Lukashenko managed to cling to power in an election many believe was rigged. Now, the crisis there is now receiving global attention, with many countries slamming the actions of Belarus, while the UN has approved a motion to bring human rights violations under increased scrutiny. Wildfires continue to burn across the west coast of the US, and residents in many areas are finding it increasingly difficult to breathe due to shocking air quality. You can see that here. Now, this eerie time-lapse video you're about to see captured in California as a driver headed north up the Interstate 395, which is usually known for beautiful scenery. Now, already at least 26 people have been killed, with more than 1 million hectares burnt, many homes lost, with tired firefighters on the ground doing all they can to try and extinguish the blazes, which have been described as unprecedented. Now, US Marines have been deployed to try and help weary fire crews, with plenty of people putting their hand up to help.
The training officially began today, but we've been doing some preparation leading up to it. For example, over the past few days this week, the Marines have been fitted and sized and issued all of their safety equipment that they'll need for the mission. And then the training itself really began in earnest today. And they will continue to train over the next few days, both here at Camp Pendleton, as well as forward where they're going to support the Creek Fire before they actually go out on the lines and start working there.
And finally, check out these incredible images coming out of southern France, which has seen extremely heavy rainfall, with a home being swept away by floodwater. Now, the terrible weather conditions forcing France to issue a red alert for some areas, as authorities have their work cut out for them, rescuing dozens of residents, with reports coming in that one person is missing. And that is all we have time for this edition of I-24 News. But of course, we are continuing to bring you all of the breaking stories. So do go ahead, visit us online, i24news.tv. And we have all of those stories on all of our social media platforms. I'm Sarah Coates. Thanks for watching.